And I've had the privilege of knowing Kyle for a long time. I've had the privilege of knowing a lot of you guys for a while. And I'm really grateful to have been invited to come and share with you guys. And I was sitting here thinking, I was like, man, there's going to be so many people waiting for something profound. And I just hope I can send something that resonates with anybody. But the one thing that I do want to talk about, and this is something that I use to kind of help me remember the source of my power, the source of my grace, the source of my forgiveness. And one of the things that I've learned is in my walk, I was baptized in 2009. And one of the things that I have learned is real simple, man. I cannot give to you what I don't possess. So before Jesus entered into my life, I had nothing of real substance. Everything was transactional. The securities that I would find myself in were in and of this world. And some of these things can be good things, like ambition, jobs, success, education, credit scores. Now all these things have value. But a lot of these things people will have, and it won't be enough. As a matter of fact, I know it's not enough. Because it will never be enough. Matter of fact, the greatest day of my life was the day that I felt the Holy Spirit enter into me. And the reality of it is it has never been the same since. I have like moments where I feel the presence of God in my life. I have moments when I feel the peace of God in my life. But I gotta be honest with you. The majority of my life is a tug-of-war battle between the flesh and the spirit. Even as a believer, I still struggle with unbelief.
All right. Yeah.
See, there comes a point in time where there will be something that I want or something that I desire, and I'll be overcome with fear that I'll never get it. Or I'll be overcome with memories of past failures. I strongly believe that one of the greatest schemes or tactics that the enemy has is our remembrance.
That's right.
He reminds me in a voice that's also familiar that says, Shelby, you really ain't good enough. I mean, look at all of those look at all those relationships that you've had that have amounted to nothing but turmoil and scars and division and despair. Children that you want to actively participate in their childhood, but you can't because somebody out there is saying you ain't worthy. Man, I used to often want to go and do good. I didn't want to be bad. I wanted to do good. I wanted to be a good dad, a good son, a good friend, a good employee. And often I would have this intention and I would run out and try to do it, and then the world would say something like this: no. You can't work here. You can't live here. You can't buy a car here. See, because this is a standard that has been adopted by the world. Now, I have a participation in that. See, when I choose not to pay my bill, then somebody reports something to an entity and then they tell me this guy is high risk, don't mess with him. Right? There's an order in our community that says that if I do things out of line, that there's going to be a consequence. And see, and if I keep doing that, they got a place for me. And I'll never forget, I ended up in one of those places. And when I was out there, man, I was messing with this kid, and there was an old man named Mr. Nichols. And he came up to me and he said, "Hey, Byrd, can I ask you a question?" I said, "What?" He goes, "You're over here badgering this kid and you're trying to argue with him. But I got a question for you." I said, "What's that?" He said, "Who are you trying to convince about God's reality? Are you trying to convince him, or are you trying to convince yourself?" And often when God's wisdom penetrates my mind, and the Bible refers to a lot of Pharisees when God's wisdom would penetrate their mind, they would walk away speechless, and there was no rebuttal, there was nothing to say. And so God's wisdom is unchanging. So what I like to remember comes out of Isaiah 52. Now Isaiah, this was written, 700 years before the existence of Jesus Christ. And I think that it's important that when we look at the makeup of the Word of God, that it's consisted of multiple languages. We have over 40 authors. It's just a lot. We didn't have a World Wide Web that allowed them to connect. There wasn't anything like that. So whenever Isaiah, let me just get right here. I'm just going to read a few things. Because when I start struggling with doubt, or I start struggling with unbelief, I recall back to this passage. All right. Sorry, Isaiah 53. It says, "Who has believed our message? And to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? He grew up before him like a tender shoot, and like a root out of dry ground. He had no beauty, he had no majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire in him. He was despised and he was rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain, like one from whom people hide their faces. He was despised and he was held in low esteem. And surely he took up our pain, he bore our suffering, yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him, and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions." That's a very specific example about what he's detailing here. "He was crushed for our iniquity. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. We all like sheep have gone astray, and each of us have turned to our own way. And the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all." Now, had that been written, say, 700 years after Jesus had done all these things that he started to profess, it wouldn't have the same punch. It wouldn't have the same impact. But the fact that he was able to give a detailed account about what was coming, that means everything. See, to me, that is the meat of the potato. That's what brings me back full circle to know that if I want to have access to the wisdom of God, then I need to spend time with God. And what does spending time with God look like? Well, spending time with God looks like a few things. And for me, one of those things is opening up the Bible, the thing that is unaltering and unchanging. And if we look at the history of the Bible, we're going to notice that even now, today, currently, there are nations and government and institutions and people who are trying to destroy the truth. But yet, the truth continues to survive. Not only does the truth continue to survive, but the truth continues to thrive. And it enters into men's minds and prisons and treatments and streets and behind dumpsters and all these different places. And it starts to cultivate a change that is unmistakable. Unmistakable. See, because each one of us, some of us have been in dirtier places with dirtier people doing dirtier things than others. But at the end of the day, when we don't have Jesus, we are missing something. And the reason that we continue to pursue other things outside of ourselves is because we know that we are missing something. I mean, there's not a shadow of a doubt that there's something that is incomplete. And you can maybe ask somebody, "Man, what is it that you need?" "I need a car." "Well, no, duh." But my question is when you had a vehicle before, was it enough to keep you happy, whole, and free? But you may say, "Well, I need a relationship. I want a girlfriend." Man, would all the men who had girlfriends raise their hand? Okay, all the men who had multiple girlfriends at one time, keep your hand up. So you're telling me that multiple girlfriends wasn't enough to keep you happy, whole, and free? Nope. It sounds like a lot of drama. Man, I'm going to share something with you guys, and you guys, when you have a chance, y'all going to take a look at this, but I'm telling you right now that there is a quantifiable, measurable statistic on the suicide rate of lottery winners. Does it get any better to change your way of life or circumstances than winning the lottery. I want to try. Let me win. I'll just give a shot. I'll give it my best effort. But again, there's more evidence that whatever that is in this world, made of this world, is never going to be enough.
That's right.
It's never going to be enough. And the reason that I know it's never going to be enough is because there's evidence through suicide and depression and anxiety and confusion and fear, even when we have these things. It provides us with false senses of security, which promotes things like complacency. And if you look up the word complacency, you're going to notice that there is a secondary paragraph to that, and that paragraph is, oh goodness, I just had a brain fart. All right. But the complacency is unaware of the imminent danger. See, sometimes when I hear a word, I don't really understand what that word means. I may think complacency is just being lazy. That's a part of it.
Say that again, Shelby.
Yeah, I may think that complacency is laziness, but that's just a part of it. That is a symptom of complacency. Complacency is much deeper than that. It's a false sense of security. It is the illusion that what we have here is offering us a level of security that we don't have to do anything anymore. So maybe we got a little money in the bank. Maybe we got us a nice car. Maybe we got us a spot. Maybe we got us a girl. Maybe we got all of it. Maybe we got our dream job. But still, something is missing. You know why we know it's still missing? Because the appetite of the flesh and the appetite of the world will never be quenched, just like the appetite for the next great high will never be met. See, the one is too many and 1,000 is never enough is not only is applicable to drugs, but it's also applicable to toxic relationships. Girlfriends or boyfriends that mean bad business, that tell us things like, I love you, baby, won't you come back? I'll change this time. And maybe we buy into it. Why? Why do we buy into it? Because we're missing something. See, we keep missing something. But what we're really missing is the relationship with the active living God. And I know this to be the case because one day on February the 3rd of 2009, down in the city outside of Houston, I was walking away from a church and I had an Alcoholics Anonymous big book under one hand and I had a Holy Bible in another hand, and it was freezing and I didn't know anybody. I'm in a city that I didn't really belong, I guess. And I remember I'm walking down this dark road out to a Burger King because the guy that was coming to pick me up couldn't see it. He was old. I'm sorry to have that same problem. But I can remember when I left that church and that pastor had asked me if I wanted to be baptized, that I knew that I was exactly where I was supposed to be, and I knew that God had met all of my needs and that my life had value and that my life was having purpose. And I no longer had to tell people about what my great intentions or my desires were. See, I no longer had to move my mouth to tell people what my great plans were. Because the change that started to happen on the inside, it had taken all of those wants and all of those desires, and even in just for a moment, none of that stuff even mattered. The fact that I didn't have any money, the fact that I didn't have a career, the fact I didn't have a vocation, the fact that I didn't have anything, but you know the story. None of that stuff actually mattered because I had Jesus. Now, if we want to fast forward another 14 years down the road, I can give you a quick recap. I don't have to get into the exact nature of my wrongs, and I don't need to get into the exact account of everything that happened. Now, I have a lot of material stuff. Not as many as some people, more than others. A lot more than what I had back in 2009. Now, I don't believe that Jesus came here to die for me so that I could have a brand new truck. I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that he died on the cross for me so that I could have a brand new business or a successful business or a homeowner. I'm just telling you that that's not what this is about. But what I will say is this. is that when he died and he gave my life purpose and value, there was a moment where I get to stop, I get to pause, and I get to reflect, and I get to ask God for instruction and direction. And one of the really, really cool things is that I have been the beneficiary of living in an economy and living in a society where his blessings show up in the material world and they look like something. Now, I'm not confused about this because I understand and I agree with Matthew 6 when he tells me to go into my secret place and pray to my God so that I can have that personal relationship with him. The question is am I or am I not willing to walk away from whatever he's given me in the material? So my encouraging word is this: pursue God. We're not going to go through this life without offense. They offended Jesus. He's spitting wisdom and he's spitting knowledge and he's giving them the business on a regular basis. And the people who are supposed to be the religious leaders continue to reject him, even though they know that he's coming, because they had access to the same Isaiah 53 that we do. It already has been spelled out. He's already performing signs. He's already performing wonders. These things are unfolding in live time in their face. But they didn't have the capacity to identify or to receive it. We have a different scenario. We have a different circumstance.
All right.
See, we have a circumstance here where we're able to assemble arm in arm at places like the Men of Nehemiah.
All right.
At the places like the Second Chance Baptist Church, where I'm a part of. And I would love to invite any of you guys to come out and hang out with us. See, we have an environment and a place where we get to do good things for each other and to each other. We no longer have to be dominated by fear. We no longer have to be dominated by the enemy and thinking that we're going to find our worth or our value or our security in anything that this world has to offer. If it comes, great. If it doesn't, it's not. But here's the thing. What happens if God moves into my life and I'm living in the Middle East in the 1600s? I'm probably not driving a brand new truck, living in an air-conditioned home. Does that give my life any more meaning or value than somebody who lives there? It doesn't. So I really think that the whole punch to all of this is to spend time with the Lord. Remember that his word is unending and unchanging. That he has an unsurpassing amount of love and power. And he gives us access to that through our submission and our pursuing of that relationship with him. If we see the evidence of destruction around us, if we look closely enough and we tune our spirit into God, we're going to see the evidence of his glory and grace all around us as well. Thank you for letting me share.